Hi, I'm Lee McGuire, and I'm here with Dr. Doohi Lee discussing aesthetics through the Diamond Matrix. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
This is really interesting. How do you even approach this aesthetically? And I'm say it that way because I'm saying it's really ultimately how people view themselves and how they feel about themselves.
They're completely interrelated.
Could you expand on that a little?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because this is such an important part of our society. You know, I mean, you're a TV personality and movie star and all those kind of things. So, you know, appearance is such a huge, important aspect of what we are.
Sure.
And even just from a daily life of, you know, getting up and getting dressed and going out, going to meetings. I mean, the first thing people see is how you look. You know, your face and the way you groomed and all those kind of things. It's an instantaneous message of who and what you are.
Affects
how you
your
feel.
confidence.
Everything, you know, and the communication with others, right?
Yes.
So when we talked about the emotional and spiritual health, you know, I think that is completely tied in with the idea of aesthetics.
Yeah, they're all connected, aren't they?
Connected.
That's really what you're saying in this,
exactly.
as we go through each step.
Exactly.
Okay.
And also, you know, there are two parts to it, the aesthetics. One is your internal self-concept of how you look and how you project yourself to the outside world. And then the other part is sort of that the social currency of aesthetics, how other people perceive you depending on what your appearance is.
And what you feel is acceptable.
Exactly,
to others,
exactly.
yes.
And of course the idea, oh, am I being judged for this or that, right?
Yes.
So that's why you have such proliferation of, you know, things like Botox and, you know, fillers and surgery and all those kind of things, and people are doing it more and more, sometimes openly, but people still don't want other people to know, even though they're doing it for themselves for various reasons. They still don't want to advertise that is being done. So it still comes back full circle into more of an internal concept of aesthetics. I need to do this, or I want to do this because I want to have a certain look and my projection about myself that in turn changes or alters how I feel about myself. That is right or wrong. You can debate the, you know, rightness or wrongness of that concept. You know, that's all individual choice. And my job is to optimize, you know, a person's desire for certain aesthetic goal through not only surgery and different procedures, but also by augmenting and supporting that through good health, exercise, emotionality, all the kind of things we talk about.
Sure.
So that's why that I think aesthetic has such an important part in the structure of the Diamond Matrix. And I put it on the top, you know, and brain was in the bottom. I put it on the top because it's a little like cherry on the top. It's a little extra.
Sure.
And my idea is once you get different parts of the Diamond Matrix going, you feel great. You know, I feel healthier, I feel stronger, I have a great sense about myself.
But how much should we, for our own happiness, concentrate on how we look and how others view us?
Well, I think it's a natural thing.
Of course.
Yeah, it's very natural.
It is, and it's amazing how many pieces of our life it affects.
It is very natural.
How we walk, how we carry ourselves,
Precisely.
if our shoulders are back, if our chin
like,
is up.
Yeah, if you know that, hey, I look great, I mean, your walk is going to be completely different. Then feel like, oh, God, I look awful. I just don't feel like myself. You're going to walk differently. You're going to interact with the people differently. The whole idea is to, you know, once you have a sense of your own energy and vitality, you want to match the external appearance to your internal self. I think that's where the aesthetics comes in. But for some people, it's not a necessity. It's not a requirement.
Well, sometimes we feel different than the way we look outside.
Actually, in this society, it really is an important component of the whole idea. When you talk about, you know, idea of happiness and health and vitality, the external appearance matching your old sense of self, physically as well as emotionally, I think it really is a vital part. But that can be debated, but it's my opinion.
Yeah, and part of what you do is help people maintain what they have and how important it is to kind of stay with that, but be balanced and healthy in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people sometimes lose. But it affects you sexually, emotionally, your confidence in work.
Yes.
How you respond to people, how you carry yourself.
Yes.
So it's such an important piece.
It is. It really is.
That sometimes people say, "Oh no, we don't need to worry about that," or "I don't." But it's part of your overall health, is what you're saying.
Right, right. And the tie-in between what you just said and the overall health is when you see people who go a little too far or very far.
And we've all seen that.
And you kind of see the struggle internally because they're trying to, reach a goal of certain look or certain validation through
Instead of looking good
surgeries.
in where they are, I think sometimes people get obsessed with looking younger rather than looking good for the stage you are at in your
Precisely.
life.
And then you end up doing things that are too much and the distortions, then you start having results that are just way out of line. And so, I mean, that's my philosophy as a cosmetic surgeon, is to stay within certain bounds of, aesthetics. Aesthetics means beauty. And
I
there
have
are
such
certain-
great respect for
and
your
there's
approach
certain-
on that.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you. But a certain standard of beauty that needs to be maintained in order to, maintain the look of each individual person. My whole idea is to optimize of that person's look rather than try to change or distort, create something that is not natural for that person.
Right.
And that's a very different philosophy for different surgeons, and the requests that the patients come in and make. But I mean, for me, it's my job to say, listen, these are the bounds of aesthetics that I will not cross.
Right.
There are plenty of people who will, but
That's
that's me.
wonderful.
And so if you're comfortable within those bounds of what I can do for you, by certain standards of aesthetics, then I'm the person. If not, then there's not a good match, and that's kind
You're
of how
talking
things go.
about in keeping a natural approach on life in every way.
Exactly. That's a
Yes.
great way of summing it up.
And here's Dr. Lee with more on aesthetics through the Diamond Matrix.
So I'd like to talk to you about a subject that is really constantly on most people's minds, but some people are just not necessarily afraid to address it or even admit it. And that has to do with the area of aesthetics and cosmetics. And this is something that we all think about. There's so much out there in the media, the magazines and television and everything you look at on the internet and all the social media stuff. I mean, Instagram and Facebook. I mean, there's every day we're inundated with beautiful posts of somebody who's done something, and just pushing the idea of aesthetics, looking beautiful, looking great. And it's fantastic. And I'm a cosmetic surgeon, so that this area is really an important part of what I do. So how does this relate to the Diamond Matrix? Because this is kind of typical evolution. So once everybody starts to get the different points, the nutrition, the lifestyle, the emotional health and brain health and all those kind of things kind of clicking in place, you really start to feel good. I feel like I'm 40 years old or 30 years old or wherever you may be, but what I'm looking at in the mirror is just not reflecting what I'm feeling on the inside. And I tell you, this happens to men as well as women. Of course, we think it happens to women more, but the men are just as vain and concerned about their looks as women are. Just don't want to admit that, okay? But this is kind of what's going on in the aesthetics world. But regardless, there's sort of a mismatch between how you're feeling inside and to what your perception is in terms of your appearance outside. And it's a natural drive to figure out, how can I make my external appearance fit more of what I'm feeling inside? Because I feel, young, energetic, great. I can feel like I can go there and run 10 miles at the drop of a hat, but I just don't like what I'm looking at outside. So that really is the idea of aesthetics and cosmetics. The question has to do with, what steps do you take to go from point A to point B without necessarily going through the different steps that you think, I don't want my neighbors, my friends, and my colleagues to know I did something. And so this is sort of the paradox in modern day idea of aesthetics. Everybody wants it, and it's out there. We know that people do it, in terms of going to get cosmetic surgery or Botox or different kind of, enhancements. But we don't want people to know that we're doing it. Okay, so this is sort of the hidden secret a lot of people have. So they want to look their best. At the same time, they don't want to advertise the fact that they're doing something, be it surgery or non-surgical different procedures to do this. And so that's where people like me come in, who are actually involved in overall health from both the inside and outside. And my basis is, I want to optimize your health internally so it can be reflected on your external appearance. And it's not, uncommon for me to actually encounter a patient coming in for things like maybe facial fillers or laser procedure or even what's called neuromodulator, which is, Botox is one of the products in that category, is to looking at them and realizing their skin just kind of reflects, poor internal health. They're kind of looking sallow, kind of, loose, and the energy is not there. So the internal health, it's just not there. But they come in thinking that getting this Botox or filler is going to make them look younger. Your external beauty really comes from the inside. Your skin and everything about you reflects your internal vitality. If you're not healthy inside, there's very little that I can do to really make you look, glowing and beautiful and all the aesthetic stuff that you want. So in order to really achieve your aesthetic and cosmetic goals, you really want to make sure you set the foundation. And the foundation is optimizing the nutrition, the lifestyle, all the stuff we talked about already, so you have a firm basis on which to build your aesthetic goals. So let's say you want to have, fillers and things like that. That's fairly straightforward, in terms of the risk and kind of benefits you'll get, which is fairly instantaneous. You're not going to have that much downtime or recovery issues. But let's say you want something more, some sort of surgery, an operation, or is it facelift, neck lift, maybe a body type of procedure like liposuction, or maybe even tummy tuck, all the different kind of things. So these, as you get into more serious, more involved operations and procedures, then your health becomes critical, because even though it's cosmetic surgery, it is still surgery, and your body has to go through some surgical trauma, and you have to heal. Scar has to heal well, and all the kind of things that have to come back into focus to make sure you become completely rejuvenated. So if you're not in a good, healthy status, these kind of operations and things like that may not necessarily result in the most optimal result for you. So these are all kind of things that you need to talk about and discuss with your surgeons. But at the same time, really kind of think back on yourself. It's like, how can I prepare myself for this upcoming procedure? What can I do nutritionally? I need to look at my diet, look at my nutritional supplements if you're taking some. Do I need to exercise and get in better shape? Play a role in the basis of enhancing your external appearance. So this is something that I hope you'll think about very carefully as you embark on optimizing that aspect of the diamond matrix.